This first incident happened to me when I was probably 11 to 13 years old, most likely 12. So we're talking mid to late 1980s here. I was a loner before high school. I did not have many friends. I was a tall but skinny kid during this time. And having lack of friends and it being the 1980s, other than video games and TV, we didn't have much in the way of entertainment. I would often get on my bike and I would just ride. One of my favorite places to go was a school called Serena Hills. I would only go there on the weekends when the school was closed. We lived in a suburb of Chicago called Chicago Heights, and it was pretty close to the house, 2 or 3 miles. I don't remember exactly how far it was. I would often go there to play on the playground, which back then consisted of 12-foot steel slides, big, huge wooden splintery forts, along with tire forts, and merry-go-rounds, and rocking horses, and swings that were all constructed of rusty metal. Those were the good old days, right? So I was there playing by myself, and there were some high school kids playing as well, and they would often go there and toss a ball or frisbee, whatever. But one of them started to come over to me, and it was getting maybe about half an hour before sunset. And he comes over to me, and I didn't know this kid, so I'm by myself, and kids being kids, and bullying was really popular back then. I thought he was going to do something, but he didn't. Instead, what he does, he goes, "Hey, kid." I go, "Yes." He goes, "What's that in the sky?" And at first, I wasn't going to play along, but if he was there to beat me up, I thought I should. So I look up and I glance and I see this object in the sky. It was orange and triangular in shape with sharp defined edges, but I don't remember any detail. Now, as odd as that was, it gets odder. I only stared for maybe 2 seconds, and I look back and I go, "That is weird." And the kid goes, "Yeah, that is, isn't it?" And he walked back to be with his friends. I didn't give it much more mind after that for the next few minutes until the sun started to go down a little further. And I picked up my bike and I'm thinking I should probably get ready to go home. And I get off the swings or whatever I was playing on at the time. I don't remember. I mount the bike and I look up one more time and the thing hasn't moved. Now, the only thing I remember behind this orange object was some wispy high altitude clouds with this raw sky behind it. So I didn't really have any reference for size or distance or anything. But the fact that it hadn't moved in that time kind of said a lot. At least I don't remember it moving. I should say that. I don't remember it getting closer, growing in size, or shrinking, moving away, or moving laterally closer to the horizon or away from it, or anything like that. I do remember it being pretty high in the sky to begin with. Now, for those of you that don't know where Chicago Heights is, it is significantly south of the 2 big airports in Chicago, O'Hare and Midway, but it is between that and the old Gary Airport, which practically isn't even used anymore. Now, planes were real common in the skies then, just like they are now, and it could have been something like that, but I don't remember it that way. I don't remember any noise. I don't remember any movement. I remember the shape. As for what it was, I'll probably never know, but it was odd enough for the high school kid to mention it to a 12-year-old. So that's why I remember it more than anything. If that kid hadn't come up to me, and even if I had seen it on my own in the sky, I probably would have forgotten that this ever happened. But it did, and that's how I remember it. Was it an unidentified flying object? No, because it wasn't flying, at least not while I was looking at it. Was it an alien spacecraft? No, probably not. What was it? I don't know. I'm just telling you how I remember it, and that's all. Okay, fast forward now about 3 years. I am no longer a tall, skinny kid. I am a tall, built kid. And now that I'm in high school, even though I'm still sort of a loner, but I have friends now, and many of them are still friends with me to this day, including RJ, who will be in this story as well. And it's been more than 30 years. But we were still riding our bikes around the neighborhood as we had, because we still got bored. And it's the early 1990s now, so teenagers did not have cell phones, and we didn't carry maps with us either. But this particular day, and I don't remember whether it was spring or summer, I don't think we were done with school yet. I do remember it being warm, but I think it was spring, and I'll come back to why I think that is. So me and RJ get on our bikes, and we decide to just go to a friend's house. I don't know why we didn't call first. We did have landlines then, but we decided to just go. And the sun was setting. So we decided to take a shortcut in a way we had never gone before. And as we're pedaling our bikes, we are on this road that is new to us, and we're heading north. And the street eventually curves 90 degrees east. There's houses on either side of the curve, but in the outside part of the curve itself, there's no house at all. It's just forested, vacant land. Now, being a couple kids who had really never been out of the suburbs that much at this point, except for me, it was a little odd to see this in such a built-up area. It wasn't a park or anything like that. Now, we just kind of shrugged it off, and we went to our friend's house, and we get there, and for the life of me, I can't remember whose house it was. I want to say it was our friend Josh, but I could be wrong on that. Anyway, we go inside, and his parents were leaving in about an hour, and he was going to go with them. I have no idea where they were going. So we just stood there and did what kids do, trying to kill time. We basically BS'd. I don't remember if we went to his room or we just hung out in the living room or kitchen or whatever. I don't remember. But what I do remember, and this is why I think it was spring and not summer, is that when it came time to go, his parents asked us if we wanted a ride. Well, we would have had to have left our bikes, and we did not want to do that because we didn't want to be without them for a week or two in case we wanted to go riding again. If it was summer, we could have just come by the next day. So I think it was spring. We were still in school, and I wouldn't be able to have my mother, or RJ wouldn't have his dad, to come pick up our bikes until the weekend at best. So we got on our bikes and we started to head back home the way we came, and it would be a good half-hour bike ride for me. I don't remember how long for RJ, but as we're riding, it is now dark. It is pitch black dark, and there was a full moon. I know now it was a full moon. I don't remember it being a full moon, but it had to be because we were maybe 45 minutes after sunset, and the moon was coming up from the east and putting a nice light on us, even though there were, houses around. So knowing what I know now about astronomy, that only happens at or close to a full moon. So we're pedaling, and we come upon that vacant lot. And being teenagers, we decide that we're going to go exploring. Now, there was a house to our left, maybe 80 feet to the left, and it had some lights on. And the house to the right was a little further away. So this was a couple of acres of empty land, and there were no trespassing signs. So we got off the road, put our bikes down, and decided to go exploring. Now, it was a little lower in elevation, maybe 2 or 3 feet. And that's probably why it was vacant, because it would have cost a lot of money to backfill this thing and build a house. But I seem to have a vague recollection of there being a creek in the back of the property. I could be wrong about that. So this could have been a little floodplain area too. But anyway, we start going down, and we're walking. And at first, it's not very dense, the woods, and there's no underbrush, or practically none. But as we get deeper in, there's a little bit of underbrush, but it's still pretty sparse. But the trees increase in density. And we get to a point where these two strong, thick trees compared to the much younger surrounding trees. And I'm just looking at the light shining from the houses and from behind us by the moon. And all of a sudden, RJ points to something and goes, "Steve, you see that?" And I look, and I'm like, "Oh, you mean that white garbage bag in the distance over there between the two large trees?" And he goes, "Yeah, but I don't think it's a garbage bag. It moved." I'm like, Nah, dude, it's probably the light or the moon or whatever. And it had to actually been a clear night because I don't remember the moon being blocked, but I think it was a little bit windy at the time. I do remember some rustling of leaves. So I look at it, convinced that RJ's full of it, and all of a sudden I see it move, and it no longer looks like a garbage bag to me. I couldn't identify what it was. What I remember is this thing just morphing and beginning to, if you would call it, stand up. It didn't really have a form, and I don't even know if it was white, but it was definitely lighter than anything surrounding it. And this late at night, your color vision is shot. But this thing just rose up from a blobular form on the ground into this almost humanoid type shape, but it had no features. There were no discernible arms, legs, facial features, or anything like that. And this all happened probably within a matter of 5-6 seconds at the most. And that was enough to send us running back to our bikes, basically freaked out, not knowing what to do. And we weren't the type of kids that got scared very easily. But we got back on our bikes, and we didn't stop pedaling until we got home. What was it? I don't know. Something definitely moved, at least from what I remember. I did say it was a little breezy. It could have been an empty garbage bag that the wind had picked up. Now, although we had lights coming from 3 directions, it was spotty and it was still relatively dark. The movement per se that this thing seemed to have been having could have just been shadows moving over it. Or this could have been an animal like a white-tailed deer. We didn't hear any noise. It was silent other than us talking and the wind blowing. But large animals in the woods can be deadly silent. They don't need to make noise, as me and Sarah have learned from black bears up in the UP. I would like to think it's something like that, but in reality, I just don't know.